All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick and Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, back with another live episode of the Patriots Daily Podcast. 3 ads today, powered by Prize Picks, Monarch Money, and of course our friends at Omaha Steaks. And we're also powered by this weekend's matchup against the 6-2 Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. Patriots heading down there Sunday afternoon to take on another MVP contender in Baker Mayfield down in Florida. So an exciting game to watch this weekend. What we're going to do today on today's show is look at Taylor's keys to the game, figure out how the Patriots can pull off an upset, which I know the Patriots have a better record technically by a half game, but I think this could be considered an upset considering, A, the point spread, B, that it's on the road, and, C, that this Tampa Bay team has been here before, where the Patriots really haven't. They're still up-and-coming, younger team, etc. So there's a chance Patriots pull it off, but it's going to be tough given what this Tampa Bay team has shown so far. Before we get into – and then we're also going to answer some of your mailbag questions that were asked on Twitter, and we'll try and get to some in the chat as well. I see Danzel in the chat saying this is the first time he's ever caught our show live. First of all,
wow.
What's going on? We're almost always live. I'm glad we finally got you on your time here, but shout out for tuning in.
The show is dedicated to you today, Danzel.
Exactly. Nelson's always here, as always. Says
What's up, Nelly?
So we'll get to those questions after. We'll do some keys to the game. But before we do, quick touch on the injury report from today down in Foxborough. 3 DNPs in Kayshon Boutte, Christian Ellis, and Ramondre Stevenson again with the toe injury. And Garrett Bradbury, Joshua Farmer, and Marte Mapu were all limited. 2 noteworthy things. Christian Barmore has not had his ramp up this week at all. He has not been listed, which I'd say is promising overall for his health. And then Christian Gonzalez was officially moved out of concussion protocol, so he should be good to go this weekend. Before we get into the keys of the game, Taylor, any thoughts on this? More specifically, kind of angling towards Kayshon Boutte and Ramondre Stevenson not looking as good today to potentially play this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be tough for the passing game more than anything. We're going to get into our keys in the game, but really, I think where you have the most interesting matchup is the Patriots offense versus the Buccaneers defense, because it's a veteran unit. There's not a lot they haven't seen. Todd Bowles, just if you get in those obvious passing situations, you really need guys you can trust. We know that Kayshon Boutte's been a huge part of that for Drake May in this offense. Now, Kyle Williams probably going to see an increased role. And now that they have an entire week to game plan, like you don't prepare for Kayshon Boutte not to be in the lineup. You kind of just adjust as well as you can. Credit to Kyle Williams for doing that. Really, I don't think we can give him enough credit for the fact that he's the 5th guy on the depth chart and really did go out there. And although he didn't do as well when he was targeted, he still put some good things on tape. So maybe we see Matt Collins really more in that role. I think that makes more sense than throwing Kyle Williams into the fire. Like maybe this is another week where instead of I think it was almost 30 snaps that Kyle ended up playing because he was a replacement. Maybe you see him closer to like a dozen that we've seen where he can have his moments, and maybe he has a slight increase as well because he probably gets more opportunities in practice. But still, you don't have what Kayshon Boutte brought, which was just excellence at the catch point and that consistent downfield ability. So it's going to stink not having him. With Ramondre, it's obviously not good, but Trayvon Henderson, his stock is on the rise, and this is a Buccaneers defense on the ground that is very good, but I also think you can exploit them in certain areas. And Terrell Jennings is really looking like a good 3rd rotational back as that more physical downhill presence who just plays, like Jeremy Springer said, he loves him because of his play style, and that translates in every level. So 2 of your best players out is never ideal, but relative to what we've seen recently, I feel solid about their depth, even though Kyle Williams still is a pretty big unknown. But at least, like I said, he was getting open against A.J. Terrell, and he blocks his butt off. Now it's just, okay, can you be on the same page with Drake, or can Drake feel like he has confidence, whether that's getting more reps in practice, getting extra time outside of practice so you can really just get a better rapport going and whatever you have to do. But I think they have enough depth that they should still be competitive in this game.
So let's tie in a mailbag question there before we get into keys, because JJ Baptiste asked how we feel about Kyle Williams heading into this game, and do we think he'll ultimately produce in Tampa Bay? You mentioned it right off there. He's going to, if not see an increased reps, which he's already started to kind of see, he may actually end up getting targeted in this game, considering just how the depth chart could fall, and targeted more. He's obviously been targeted this season, but, may have an additional role in the passing game. you might see Efton Chisholm get elevated as well and just kind of, stack the depth, or not elevated, but active rather. And the depth chart gets kind of flushed out that way. But I know you talked about it a little bit there, but can you see an actual production game out of Kyle Williams against this Tampa secondary on Sunday?
And also, when you mentioned Efton Chisholm playing, he's been in that Matt Collins role, and that's where we saw him perform when he actually got offensive snaps. So, like I said, if Matt Collins is used more as your X receiver because he's big, he has long strides, so he can clear out space for you, maybe we see more of Efton Chisholm kind of near the line of scrimmage, because Kyle Williams can play there. You don't want him to live in that blocking role at the point of attack, even though, again, he blocks really hard. He is just a smaller guy. But I feel good about Kyle Williams and his ability to separate. And all the coaches have been saying he's where he's supposed to be. Like last year, we can't underestimate that, because Javon Baker in a simpler system legitimately had issues being where he was supposed to be on a consistent basis. And then when he was actually in there, he would miss blocking assignments and XYZ. So credit to Todd Downing, Josh McDaniels, and Kyle Williams for him just being functional when he's out there in terms of not being an active liability. Obviously, weren't on the same page with the slant last week, and there were some outs. I think it was against the Saints, where it felt like Drake was hesitant to throw. But the separation ability is translating. The effort is there. Again, he's doing the little things right in terms of, you're a rookie, just don't screw up, right? Like, just don't make us have to pull you because we can't trust you. Now you have to take that next step, and we'll see if he can. It's still an unknown, and to be fair, he did have a bit of a drop problem this summer. He flashed for sure at points. Then there were also some where you're like, it was either a flat-out drop or it could have been more competitive at the catch point, in between times where he made crazy catches. So he's a rookie. I think we all need to make sure our expectations are managed, and that, like, maybe he has 2 catches and there's a drop. It's just, okay, what can we get better at, and what is he doing? So I feel good about the player. But I think he could produce against Tampa. I really do. Because if Kayshon Boutte has to miss 2 weeks, do you really want to only rely on Matt Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Demario Douglas? No, you definitely like for the rookie to get his feet wet in a situation where he can have a bigger opportunity. So I think he'll produce. I feel good about him based on what we know, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate, although I'm confident that it will, because he now will actually get looks from Drake May in practice, which I don't think he was getting before.
One more on the wide receiver room in the mailbag is the addition of Brendan Rice, who the Patriots signed in the practice squad. I'm sure, you know what, you're a sicko, so you probably have dove deep into Brendan Rice and the kind of player he can be for this team. If not, just what you've seen off the top down to practice the last couple of days. I know, we're only out there for a little while, but your thoughts on him being an addition to this team, and, is there a chance that he gets elevated this week with their, the attrition they're dealing with in the wide receiver room?
I don't think so. I think it may have more to do with the practice squad and getting looks, because Kyle Williams is going to have more of a role. Efton Chisholm's probably going to have more of a role, so you just need another body in there. I don't see him getting elevated. Like, I know he had a situation, I believe, with his friend last year, like something tragic happened.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But he hasn't really played in the NFL. And to be honest, at this point in the season, because I figured he wasn't going to be part of the game day roster, I didn't look too deep into his preseason highlights. I'm sorry. It's
no, you're fine. I wanted to throw it out
on a random day when they make these additions, and it's the summer. Hell yeah, brother. I'm digging in, but I just have so much stuff on my plate right now. But I do remember looking at his USC tape. I liked him as like a 5th or 6th round pick. Did he go, was he a 7th rounder or go undrafted?
I can't remember. I want to say he went undrafted.
I think he did. I think he did go undrafted. Because he doesn't have great speed. I feel like he gets stuck
7th round. Chargers took him in the 7th.
Yeah, it's just been a couple years since I watched the tape, but I do remember liking him. That's about all I got for you, though. Yeah,
that's fine.
Especially Mike Vrabel saying he's a quick learner. A lot of that is just, can you do what we need you to do? Like, it's asking a lot to put a guy in this Josh McDaniels offense, especially. I don't care how quickly he's learned. He doesn't have much NFL experience. That'd be a lot. I'm sorry I don't have more on him.
He's got the genes.
What he saw in college is probably, what he's somewhat what he still is.
It's all right. He's got the genes. His dad's the best wide receiver that's ever played the game. So maybe he gets a
crazy
chance.
Catches, right? Was that it? Like in college?
Yeah.
I feel like he's had a handful of like, wow, maybe he can really be something. But I remember he didn't separate all that great.
No, you're right.
He's a super explosive guy.
So that's on the wide receivers. We'll get into how the Patriots can potentially win this game and beat the Buccaneers on Sunday in a second. But first, I got to tell you guys about our friends at Prize Picks, because as you know, this episode and every episode of Patriots Daily is powered by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks, and although the weather might be changing, the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups today when you play your first $5. It's super simple to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also offers stacks. meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. We got Broncos taking on the Raiders tonight on Thursday Night Football. And if you want to pick more on Bo Nix's passing yards, rushing yards, and touchdowns, all in the same lineup, you can do that tonight on PrizePicks. So don't wait. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, game keys. Let's talk about it. As we know, Buccaneers dealing with injuries on their side of the ball. Mike Evans is out. Emeka Egbuka, I believe, is back, but I think Chris Godwin's still dealing with injury. I haven't checked up too closely on their injury report yet. But we talked about it last night on the crossover. Patriots struggling a little bit in man coverage. Their cat defense hasn't been what we thought it would be. But your first key to the game, Taylor, is manning up on defense. Does that mean literally manning up? Does that mean sucking it up on defense, being a man? Or that's what I saw. I want to know more. How do you see this? This defense taking on Baker Mayfield, who has been, like we said, an MVP candidate through the first 8 or 9 weeks of this season so far.
No, I just mean man up in the football term. I don't actually think I've ever told anybody to man up.
I didn't think so either. I figured you wouldn't walk into that locker room every day telling guys to man up on defense.
That'd be absolutely insane. No, I just mean like man up on defense because we have known this to be more of a zone coverage scheme, especially over the past month or so. But the Patriots did lean more into man last week. I think it was still about around under 30% actually. And in the Bill Belichick days, you'd see them kind of hover more around 40, 45%, which is really the higher kind of rate in the league. But this is a team where I am a Baker Mayfield fan. We were both anticipating this matchup since the schedule came out, thinking this was going to be really tough. And on paper, it was. Even if they didn't have Godwin, I'm confident that Christian Gonzalez and Mike Evans would have been a great matchup.
Right.
But even if he was out there, I still feel like it would have been more competitive. But what's going on right now, man? The only people that scare you on this offense are Emeka Egbuka, who has been great, but is a rookie and is someone who is not really a physical freak, right? He's someone you could plug into an NFL offense immediately, and he'll have enough savvy to separate against, some of the lower end starters, I would say, in the league, and then he'll be great against zone, right? He's always going to be where he needs to be. If you put Christian Gonzalez on Emeka Egbuka, just because I respect him as a player, maybe he'll have 1 or 2 impressive catches, but you're not going to see him route up Christian Gonzalez. Right. So I think you immediately take out their most dangerous threat. Next on the list would be probably Tez Johnson. Marcus Jones on Tez Johnson, I'm taking that matchup every time.
100%.
And Cade Otton, I think, leads their team over at least the past month in explosive receptions.
That's crazy.
That should tell you a lot.
But that's crazy, yeah.
And Cade Otton, not even a bad player. I remember Brady, because of the Brady years, we were all watching a little closer. It's this Cade Otton guy, he was young at the time. It's I feel like he's always making plays. He's a really nice complimentary guy with all of the weapons they had. And like I said, he's a good player. If you look at most of their big plays, the Tampa Bay offense, its defense is just their brains falling out of their heads. They either don't pay attention to a leak route or there's there was one where Cade fakes the screen, which actually the Patriots did get beaten by against the Raiders where Brock Bowers took off, and that was the one where Marcus Jones kind of got caught. Yeah, they've had a play like that as well, but there's not a lot on tape where I'm okay, at least you have to respect that guy. It feels more like the Browns in a way where I'm just if you fall asleep, sure, they might be able to do something against you, but if you're on your P's and Q's, I don't think there's a whole lot this offense is going to be able to do. And also, if you look at their conversions against man coverage, a lot of it is scrambles. It's off schedule. They don't separate very well. And if you look at their depth chart, you'd understand why. It's a lot of young players. Tez Johnson's very athletic, but he's also very small. Then Emeka Egbuka isn't small. He's is he 6 feet? Emeka Egbuka?
I want to say he's probably right around 6 feet.
Yeah, he's bulky, but he's not a spectacular athlete. If you could combine those two, you might have something pretty special, But they don't quite have enough to scare you.
6'1", 205.
Okay, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like a Javon Baker type build.
Yeah.
So they don't really scare you that much with this Patriots cornerback room. So I just think if you play man coverage, I don't know there's a whole lot they could do against you passing the ball. And the run game, they have no Bucky Irving.
Right.
So who are you afraid of in the ground game? And I think do you know if Kadlick is going to play this week or any inkling? I haven't checked their injury report because I read that he was supposed to come back.
Let me look.
Because the right side of their offensive line is damaged. They are pretty banged up, and they didn't have starters. Cody Mox on injured reserve, and Kadlick was hurt. So you shouldn't.
He was limited Wednesday, Thursday, Kadlick.
Okay, so maybe he comes back, but he's not going to be in great shape.
Right.
I was so looking forward to this, and I'm disappointed because I think if the Patriots do what they're supposed to do, is Baker going to make some magic once or twice? Sure. But it's kind of like what we talked about, I think it was with Andrew, in man coverage, where like, okay, yeah, like teams are going to man up against Drake, and sure, he'll take off a couple times, but that's probably not going to lose you the game. So I think if they do that, it should really just be the Patriots offense versus the Buccaneers defense, because they're just severely undermanned right now, and they have injuries in the front and to the receiving core in some pretty key spots.
It's unfortunate because I still think, look, this is setting up for a spot where the Patriots could lose against Tampa. I think they're still talented enough, but when you look at it matchup wise and on paper, without these, two elite or relatively elite wide receivers in Godwin and Evans, it's not much to worry about. And like you said, Ibuka's been solid, but when he turns into the number one instead of the number two or the 1B even, excuse me, he hasn't, flashed as much as you would like to. And then not having Bucky Irving is obviously unfortunate. He's been a playmaker for them. I think they'll turn to Rashad White and Sean Tucker, I believe, is their other back. So just guys who you're not too worried about, especially with how elite this Patriots run defense has been so far. And I'm a Baker Mayfield guy through and through. Loved him in college. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, where when does it turn from being immature to being swaggy and being like having moxie? He's fully found the moxie. Yeah, right. So when you win, you're allowed to have that sort of attitude, and Baker's done that. But with their backs against the wall, injury-wise, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to make plays. And I think you nailed it there. That's going to be the key, where if you just allow your elite defensive backs to man up against these lower level wide receivers, then you should be okay.
Also, real quick, last thing on Baker.
Sure.
He has one interception on the season, I think 1 or 2 fumbles, misleading, or he might have 2 interceptions, something like that. His turnover numbers look very good, and the Buccaneers do too.
Yeah.
He is tied with, surprisingly, Patrick Mahomes for the third most turnover-worthy plays this season. If you want to look at turnover-worthy play rate, because sometimes if a guy has a lot of dropbacks, that number can be inflated. Not good, but sometimes it doesn't tell the whole story. It's like 5th. In turnover-worthy play rate. So there should be opportunities.
Interception guy.
Interceptions and scrambles, because he's all, or fumbles, because he wants to scramble, he wants to make something happen. A lot of the time that comes at the cost of him trying to do too much. It doesn't realize that he has the ball in harm's way. So another reason that I think that this could really get away from the Buccaneers, if you get a lead, force some turnovers, really get the Buccaneers down. Like, Baker Mayfield's resilient, but there's still a relatively young offense in a lot of spots, and that could be the backbreaker.
That moxie we talk about with him, he trusts himself a lot, obviously, to make plays, as he should, but he does put the ball in harm's way. And I think, don't quote me on this, but he's either led the league multiple times in a year in interceptions, or at least been right at the top. Like even last year when he was, I think he led the league in touchdown passes. He also led the league in picks as well. So he's a gunslinger through and through, and he's gonna put the ball out there and make you pay for it. So definitely misleading. Blows my mind, frankly, that he's only thrown 1 interception this year, just the way he plays football. So that's the key on defense. Now, turning it to the offensive side of the ball here.
More keys here.
You have 3 keys here, actually. So we'll rifle through them. We'll start with this one, talking about basic titles for these, but run right. Why do the Patriots have to run right on Sunday to get the best of Tampa in the run game?
I don't like being this specific sometimes when I don't have a clear reason for it.
Sure.
My only reason is it's on the tape, and it's on the numbers. If you look at it, the Buccaneers, when their run defense is not good, it's because the offense is, and I'm sorry, and this can get confusing. I'm talking about running to the offense's right. Okay. So that would be running at Yaya Diaby a lot of the time. Yeah. Yaya Diaby is the guy that they usually have on the left edge. That's where a lot of it's been. It's either a gap run to the right side or a zone play where you're either tossing or running outside zone trying to get outside right, or some type of outside or inside zone where you're starting to the left, but then it cuts back right. I think there were 2 of those kinds of runs that went the other way. And I couldn't figure out exactly why, because it's not like they have linebackers play in just one spot. It's not like Vita Vea. He plays left and right, and he's a nose. But it's not in counterintuitively, you'd think, like, why would you really want to run inside where statistically they're at their worst? They are allowing, I think they're allowing the fewest yards after contact, but the most before contact. It's some crazy disparity like that. And you just intuitively wouldn't think that, because why are you running at Vita Vea? One, he's not always at 100%, to be honest, because you see when there's runs in his area, it's because he's basically standing up and not trying very hard. And he does, like, he'll still have his moments. He's Vita Vea, but just what the tape says, sometimes he isn't really going full throttle. And then Logan Hall and, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on Greg Gaines, number 96. Those guys can get moved, and it's usually runs that are targeting one of those two guys, and at times Yaya Diaby, who is a good player. He was somebody I loved coming out of Louisville. He's a very good pass rusher. One of the most explosive guys off the edge, and he's physical against the run, but teams have managed to get outside of him. So I even asked some players if they noticed any tendencies that could help me explain it, and they hadn't even noticed that yet. I don't know. Maybe I helped. I don't know. But I just I double checked the stats because I'm like, is this just something I'm seeing? And usually you should trust the film over the stats, but that's what it says. So, and a big thing is if you can gap out this offensive line, like if you can find a way to wash them down, because the second level is so aggressive, a lot of the times the reason that they're so good before contact and not after, or after and not before, is because you end up bursting into space and no one's touching you for a long time. Versus, if one of these linebackers or these defensive backs, like this entire defense is fantastic as tacklers when they get there. But if they over pursue, then you're getting 15 yards and you're not getting touched until like 14 or 13. So I do think that's going to be a major thing. And the Patriots, most of their success, they run both sides. Most of their good runs have come to the right, and a lot of their bad runs have come to the left. Now, to be fair, that doesn't mean it's always Jared or Will. Garrett Bradbury has been knocked back a couple of times to mess up runs. Mike Nwenu's allowed some penetration. The tight ends have lost at times. Like, it's not always, this direction means the players lined up at that side messed up. It's always different than that because the run game is so interconnected, and that's why it's so frustrating. But again, those runs to the right have been consistently good, and it's where the Patriots have been trending in a positive direction. So I think it's going to be a big Trayvon Henderson game for a couple reasons, but that could be another one because if you're running with Mike Nwenu and Morgan Moses and they're moving a guy, Logan Hall's 285 pounds. I think Greg Gaines is 315, which isn't small, but Mike Nwenu's 350 and Morgan Moses is like 330. You do the math, that's not a good spot to be in. So I really do think that's going to be a big key in this one.
You mentioned Trayvon Henderson there, using him in this offense a bit more. So I want to get to that. I do want to get to that in a second, though, because in the chat, they're clamoring for it, Taylor. They're waiting for their favorite segment of the show. Pat Stats is cooking steaks tonight, so we got to tell them about the meats. The exclusive meat partner of the CLNS Media Network is Omaha Steaks, and they're also the official sponsor of tailgating, from legendary burgers to mouth-watering steaks, deli-style franks, and so much more. You can elevate your game day right now at omahasteaks.com. They have site-wide discounts right now, and you can also take $35 off the top with our exclusive code PATRIOTS at checkout. Terms, of course, apply. See site for details, but there is no off-season for flavor. And with these Omaha Steaks that you see on screen, you're truly getting the best bang for your buck. So again, head over to omahasteaks.com. Right now, they got a 50% off site-wide sale, and then you can use code PATRIOTS to get $35 extra off the top. Again, terms apply. See site for details. But shout out our friends at Omaha Steaks. They feed us throughout the season over at Omaha, so we appreciate it. And if you want to get in on it, again, use code PATRIOTS for $35 off the top at checkout.
Inhaling. Our man's happy.
We
know how to satisfy our man.
Yes! Taylor gets it. Let's go. It's the steaks.
Oh, God. No, I took that too.
Come on.
It's a dangerous game, dude.
We can't contain ourselves. When the stakes are flying, you can't contain yourself. I'm sorry, but shout out Omaha. Again, code PATRIOTS at checkout.
Steaks are flying, I'm buying.
Are these steaks? The steaks are delicious, Michaela. Come on.
No, genuinely, they're fire.
They're bomb. Yeah, they are good. We joke because they're a sponsor and we're messing around. But seriously, Omaha Steaks are genuinely unbelievable. They send them to us, and if you get in on it, you get in on it yourself rather with that code PATRIOTS.
This is a good way to explain it. Have you ever had like a food that you really like and you are almost afraid to eat it too fast because you feel like it's just going to disappear? Does that ever happen to anybody else?
Oh yeah.
I still have Omaha products because they were awesome. They gave me some free meats and whatnot. There's still stuff in there, and I'm excited. I always talk about Liz, like, let's make something, but then I'm like, oh, but then if we do it, it'll be gone. Like, I like it that much that I almost feel guilty about eating it. There you go. I love this stuff. It really is delicious.
Michaela, you're yelling, send me some in the chat. Like, go get them. They're super cheap right now. Patriots.
You have a code?
Yeah, you literally have a discount code through us right now at omahasteaks.com, code Patriots. But on that, you said it too. I think the best thing about Omaha, like, you think about like freezing meats, like you get them and you want them to be fresh because they taste better and not frozen. But the best part of Omaha, you throw them in the freezer and you take them out, you cook them, and they don't even feel like they were like frozen. Like they're fresh right out of the freezer. So they're truly unbelievable. My uncle got my dad an Omaha Steaks box, confirmed they're worth it. Didn't even know. Go order it again and use our discount. They're outstanding. Patriots at checkout. All right. Let's keep it up. Let's keep rolling with the keys to the game. I think we could probably potentially loop these together. If you're talking about targeting Trayvon in the passing game or just Trayvon overall, Taylor, let me get a correction there first.
Yeah, so it's really targeting him, well, both, because I still think that he's going to be there. They were running back 1, running back 2 in a way, but clearly Trayvon Henderson is the RB1. So I think
before we hit play action, then talk about Trayvon and how you think they should use him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
No,
so
you're fine.
The reason I say hit Trayvon is because when I looked at the Buccaneers tape, I noticed that running backs produce a ton against them, and not even just like, oh, these cool schemed ways. A lot of it's just like in the flat, it's a dump off and they don't tackle somebody, or sometimes there's some kind of design concept, but really it's just they don't pay a lot of attention to running backs. And when you look at the numbers, no team has allowed more receiving yards to players out of the backfield than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Part of that is because they want to keep a lid on the defense, or they want to keep a lid on everything, and they don't want you to win deep. But they also are very aggressive up front. What that can lead to is a whole lot of space in the flats. Jahmyr Gibbs, there were like 3 different plays where Goff would quickly drop back and throw to him in the flat, be wide open, big play. Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara both took third down dump-offs and turned them into chunk gains for more yards than they probably should have. Nick Chubb and David Montgomery have had pretty good gains on screen plays. Then I dug even deeper to try to see what Josh McDaniels did when he last played Todd Bowles in 2021 with the Patriots. And guess who combined for 81 yards? Damian Harris and Brandon Bolden. And some of that was like those mesh plays, and some of those were designed. There was a screen. One was a dump off to Damian Harris where he broke a tackle and took off. So I'm like, all right, there's a theme developing here. And Trayvon Henderson has had his best receiving days of his very short career in back-to-back weeks. Now, the biggest reason for this when I actually kind of looked at the tape is I think when you either look a certain way, the linebackers for the Buccaneers will flow there very fast. And they also play a lot of match coverages. So sometimes it'll be man coverage to one side, and they try to just push all the zone coverage to another, and that just gives a ton of space. And specifically, Servassier Dennis, it was a new name for me, but he's been a fantastic blitzer. He's an outstanding run defender. But he is allowing more receiving yards than any player in the NFL in his coverage. Ding, ding, ding. Who do we think the Patriots are going to target? So I don't know if it's going to be the wheel routes and all the downfield stuff that we wanted to see from Trayvon Henderson. But given how elusive he looked last week against what I think is I don't think they're a better tackling defense, but another pretty good tackling defense, and the momentum he's building, I think this is going to be a big Trayvon Henderson week. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 100 all-purpose yards, to be honest. As long as Drake takes what the defense gives him, which I think will be an emphasis this week, because with all this exotic stuff that they're going to throw at you, sometimes the answer is simple: throw to space. Just let your running back do his thing.
I'm glad you mentioned the exotic defense. It's a good transition to kind of how we want to go to our final key here, because this Todd Bowles defense can really wreck you. It's been the topic of discussion all week. McDaniels was asked about it today. I know Drake May was asked about it a bit yesterday. And you mentioned the fact that they want to kind of keep everything in front of them, not let them beat you deep or what have you. So your final key here is lean into play action. Now, is this a defense that can get caught up by play action? Do you just think they need to do that to kind of throw them off their spot and not allow them to play their sort of not literal base defense, but their sort of main defense, if you will? Or why do you think the play action could be so much at the Patriots' advantage this weekend?
So like I said, they don't want you to throw downfield on them, and they do a really good job getting to certain coverage depth. And again, it's why there's so much room underneath for a lot of these checkdowns and for the yards after catch. But the one place where you do see them giving up a lot of yards is on play action. That's where a lot of teams have had their downfield success, specifically attacking the middle of the field. Now, sometimes, or in breaking routes, because there have been some plays where teams will throw crossers and they're just so far on the other side, they end up being near the sideline. But really, it's crossers and it's digs. Those have been the soft spots because this is the defense that wants to play a lot of zone coverage. And if you get play action and just force those guys to hesitate for a second and you get to deep enough depth, it's going to be really hard for them to make an impact. And also some of the more gunslingers like Sam Darnold and, dare I say, Mac Jones, like both of those dudes have some freaking lasers against this defense between zone defenders. Now, it's going to be tough in a way because we know Kayshon Boutte has been that reliable dig target against zone coverage. He's not going to play. Can Kyle Williams and Drake May find some type of rapport on those throws? I don't know, because those are still high risk of throwing into tight windows. Maybe that's where Matt Collins can step up. He's had some success on digs and things like that in this Josh McDaniels system before. But really, it's the crossers that I'm going to focus on, because Demario Douglas and Stephon Diggs, we talked about it. They were open on crossing routes pretty much all day. And even in the times where the Falcons tried to specifically attack one of those crossing routes, they'd run two so that, yeah, you can cut one, but you're not really going to be able to handle the other. That's where I think they're going to be able to have some success. So if they do want to man up, I think that Demario Douglas, I like Jacob Parrish a lot. I don't think he's great man-to-man against somebody like Demario Douglas, and Stephon Diggs is Stephon Diggs. You know, as long as it's not Jamel Dean, because Jamel Dean is having a phenomenal season. Do not be throwing at Jamel Dean unless he's playing like 15 yards off and you're talking about a glance route or something into space. Like, okay, maybe that. But don't mess with Jamel Dean. But McCollum, I forget. Do you remember his first name?
Xavier, I think
Xavier.
Right.
Is it Xavier McCollum?
Yeah,
And Jacob Parrish, I think, could potentially be some mismatches against Stephon Diggs and Demario Douglas. So yeah, if you want to push the ball downfield, I think it's going to have to be on play action. On straight dropbacks, I think it's going to be more of, like I said, running backs, quick throws, timely releases, because you don't want to mess with this pass rush. They are averaging the fastest average get off in the NFL, and you don't know where they're sending pressure from. You can have your tips and your tells, but Todd Bowles, and this was actually something really interesting that Josh McDaniels said today, was that there have been times where they played Bowles, and because he was with the Jets, so there were times where they played him and he blitzed a lot. But then there were times where he didn't blitz much at all. It was based on the matchup, and that's one thing Bowles is known for, is catering the pressure package to you. Drake May has been killing the blitz. So, and also with this Patriots backfield, he said, like, Trayvon and Terrell Jennings are young, but their eyes are usually in the right place. And they've done a better job not dying quick deaths like Trayvon was doing earlier in the season. So I don't know if Todd Bowles is going to think it's advantageous, honestly, to blitz Drake May, because you're not doing much, and you're doing it against the Patriots offense that's done a good job knowing where those problems are. So I think it makes more sense to flood the coverage and force him to really beat you thinking and dunking and being a more conservative quarterback, but we shall see. But either way, I do think play action is the way to go if you want to push the ball.
Fun matchup coming up for sure. On that, it was Zion McCollum.
Thank you.
Thank you, boss GM. No, that's okay. It's a Z and an X.
Stupid dum-dum.
I'm 6'7"ing right now talking about Zion versus Xavier. I'm terrible. I can't believe I do that now. But you mentioned Diggs there a little bit, so let's hit this mailbag question, hit a break. We have about 10 minutes here because Alex and Brian coming up right after us on Pat's Beat. So stick around for some more Patriots versus Buccaneers matchup talk. But you mentioned Diggs. So when do you expect Diggs to get a higher than 60% snap count? And I think this is an interesting question given the fact that Kayshon Boutte's not going to play this weekend, or likely not to play this weekend. Do you think he's going to see an increase in snap count given that? Do you think they should give him some more run here? Or do you think the way they're using him has been pretty efficient so far?
Maybe he pushes a little bit more this week, but I think it's been fine. Like, there are just certain packages where he's not as advantageous. If you're running the ball, you'd rather have Kayshon Boutte and Matt Collins out there. But obviously in passing situations, you want Diggs. And then he's going to mix in for play action and everything, but you got to think about it. Like, how much of the offense are you dropping back? It's usually, ideally, is going to be around 50%, but probably closer to 60. That's what Diggs plays.
That's Diggs. Yeah.
So, so I don't really mind how much they've been using him. I think it's fine. It's not like when he's out on the field, you're like, oh, where's Stephon? Like, they're not doing anything. It hasn't been like that. So if there's any week, it'd probably be, ideally it would be this one, because they're not going to suffer any more injuries at wide receiver. But, I don't necessarily expect it. I think that the role that he has is fine because they got a lot of guys that they got to get involved.
All right, I got to tell you guys about Monarch Money, and then we'll wrap up with some rapid fire mailbag questions before we get out of here for Alex and Brian on Pat's Beat coming up at 5:45. But first, Monarch Money. Feel organized and confident in your finances with Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. So if you've been off-putting organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. They do all the heavy lifting for you. They link all your accounts in minutes and get clear data, visuals, smart categorization for your spending, and real control over your money. We promise you will never need a spreadsheet ever again. So don't leave money on the table. Right now, for our listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year with code Patriots at monarchmoney.com. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Again, use code Patriots at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. Again, that's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code Patriots. All right, let's answer some mailbag questions before we skedaddle. We just hit Diggs and the snap count. We'll go back to the defense versus Baker here for a second. I know we talked about manning up coverage-wise. How can the Patriots get pressure on Baker Mayfield without having to rush more than 4? Finish off here with they don't have options on offense, so you can't give Baker too much time.
Rush 4. They are one of the best defenses in the league when they don't blitz. And we highlighted it last week, but Brandon Thorne, who we trust with all of our trench evaluations, went through some of the most impactful defensive linemen based on like rare high quality pressures, things like that. Patriots had 3 guys on the list. Milton Williams was one of, I think, if not the best defensive tackle in terms of rare high-quality pressures. Christian Barmore was up there, and Caleb Chason was up there. And as we know, Harold Landry is not a guy who's going to bring pressure on like 25, 30% of snaps necessarily, but he is very opportunistic. And every week we talk to Mike Smith, and it's what I'm seeing on the tape is they get chipped a ton. Like they're not seeing a bunch of just 5-man pass protection schemes. They're getting running back chips. They're getting tight end chips. There's times where guards will peel off because they're maybe running a stunt or because they're just rushing 4, and you'll see one of the edges get chipped. Christian Barmore, Milton Williams are usually getting extra attention. And also a lot of more offenses are just using max protection schemes. Right. And the Patriots, they blitz some, and I think they do it so they can keep the defense honest, but I think they're at their best when they rush 4 because I don't think a lot of their blitzes work. I think that, Marcus Jones is a smaller guy. Jalen Hawkins can be a good blitzer, but he's also not the biggest dude in the world. Like he's not Kyle Duggar. I think the linebackers are pretty solid at it, but they are fine rushing just 4. And if Luke Kadlick is banged up, the right side of that offensive line for the Buccaneers is extremely vulnerable. So you could see Milton Williams and Harold Landry have some success against them. I don't think you need to blitz in this game. I think you could if you wanted to, but against a guy like Baker Mayfield, I don't know. Unless it's a situation where you're trying to get the ball out of his hands quickly, I say you play coverage and just try to force these receivers to beat you and also condense the pocket so that Baker can't do his thing. And they know that Baker's going to try to scramble and make magic. Right. So if they blitz, I also think part of it is going to be trying to just create fewer lanes for him to escape versus we're trying to get more pressure. There's different reasons for people to blitz.
Michaela is clamoring in the live comments asking for us to answer her question. So she did ask on Twitter, why do we keep running either up the middle or to the left, knowing that Jared Wilson and Garrett Bradbury are the weakest spot in run blocking? You kind of already talked about this a little bit with our preview and our keys that they should run to the right, but that it's not necessarily just these guys on the line. So I guess what are your thoughts here? Are Wilson and Bradbury as bad as they may look on the TV copy rather?
Well, I wouldn't even say that they're necessarily like trying to run behind Jared and Garrett.
Yeah.
And also you have to understand that you're not always going to the hole where something designed. The only runs where you're usually hitting the same spot is power or counter because those are literally designed to hit in one of usually like 2 places. If it's gap or duo without a puller, you are basically trying to just find the open lane. And if it's a zone run, you're trying to influence the defense in most cases by going one way, getting the flow in the direction you start, and then opening up a cutback lane, unless it's true outside zone where you are trying to get to the perimeter. Right. So that's an important thing to know. If there's if they start running dive or if they start running power, in that direction and it is behind those guys, that doesn't always make sense. But you know what I mean? Like if they were aiming, I would be a little more upset. But when they go
if they were aiming and it wasn't working and they were kept banging their head against the wall type thing. Right.
Exactly. But when they run left, and honestly, if you look at the numbers, they're best running left behind Will Campbell. So I think that's what they've tried to do is do off tackle runs and things like that to the left. And then when they do try to go more between the tackles, they do go to the right hand side.
Kayla's chirping. Excuse after excuse after excuse. That's just how it is.
Kayla's never happy.
She's not.
I've learned to love her regardless of whether or not she loves us.
That's okay. All right. Sell Picks Pride 86 on the deadline as a whole. It was disappointing. Which player, in your opinion, was their biggest miss among the guys who were traded?
Maybe Jalen Phillips. I think he was one of the few guys. I guess you could say Draymond Jones.
That was going to be mine as Jones. Just the connection with Tennessee, but also and
he's a good player.
I can't tell if it's
trouble. Sorry.
Yeah, right. No, it's fine. I can't tell if it's true or not. There's been reports to the contrary on both sides, or whether Tennessee did want to deal with the Patriots or they didn't. But either way,
why wouldn't that be true? History tells us that's probably true.
Yeah, right. But either way, I think they missed out on Jones. But also Phillips, I know you mentioned him there. Would you have given up the third for him, or was that too steep for you?
Too steep.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because I trust this team to find if they were like, we want an edge in the third round, like that's the area and we'll build him up. I would trust them to develop a third rounder on the defensive line because we've seen what they did with like a Joshua Farmer and Braden Swinson. I'm not even sure it's that he's not playing well behind the scenes or anything. I think that they just don't necessarily need him. Obviously the depth, and you hope that at some point, like he and Elijah can be more impactful players. But I think Jalen Phillips was the one player I would have liked for them to get, and I think would have made a lot of sense, but it's just, he does have the injury history.
Yeah,
that's why he got traded, but that's a significant concern for me if you're talking about building long term.
Yeah. Michaela said that she wasn't talking to us, so sorry for saying you weren't happy. And
I'm not sorry. Michaela can definitely be a little aggressive at times.
She is happy.
We love it. We love it.
No, you're right. You're right. We could take it here. All right. Well, let's see if there's one final question we can get in here under the buzzer. Here we go. Easy. Upcoming draft question. Would you like to see them package some of these extra 6th-round picks with our assigned pick in a round to move up a few spots? You never know who eventually.
Yes.
Like they did they dealt Keon, they dealt Kyle Duggar, and they were able to they have a surplus. They own the 6th round right now. You want to see them take and pick and stick 4 players? No, probably not. I think they should totally use them to try something, but what say you?
Yeah, like if you could package those to get maybe another 5th-round pick or something like that, I would definitely be down for that for sure.
I like it. I think that's the way to go. I think that's the way they're doing it. And it makes the most sense given that they are still sort of, even though they sit at 7-2, in a bit of a rebuild here. All right, we got to go. 5:44, right on the dot. Patriots taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday at 1 p.m. in Tampa. We also have to tease this. This comes tomorrow. Taylor Kyle is interviewing Stefon Diggs on the channel, a 10 a.m. drop here on Patriots Press Pass. Super excited for that, to hear Taylor and Steph chop it up a little bit. So keep it here for that, 10 a.m. tomorrow. And otherwise, we will have coverage throughout the weekend and also post-game show after Patriots versus Buccaneers. So keep it here, Patriots Press Pass. Rate, review, subscribe. As always, Taylor, thanks as always for the great work, the great insight and detail on the show. And stick around because Alex and Brian coming up on Patriots Beat right now. So don't go anywhere. And until next time, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we will see you very, very soon. Peace out, everyone.
Bye-bye.